All right, we're at the farm shop, and it's time to get some more of these e-bikes done. As you guys know, we get them by the load. So now we've got another one we're going to put together. This one is from ENGWE, and this is the X20. Let's go ahead, get it out of the box, take a look at what we're working with. Okay, here it is all together. This is a big e-bike, folding e-bike too, by the way. I want to mention, you can see the brake in the frame right there. Big frame. Look at the suspension. Holy moly, it's got dual shocks in the rear. Big adjustable dual shocks in the rear. The frame is super heavy duty. You can see it's all like real thick cast frame. That's big. It's not like the typical tube that you see on these. Heavy duty bike. I'm gonna mention that right now. Real tall. This thing's seat is all the way down, and I am just barely on it touching. So not short rider friendly, but we'll get this thing charged up and we'll see what it's all about. But first impressions, large bike. Also, get some help putting this together. See if your local bike shop will do it for you. It's pretty in-depth. Putting this together wasn't super simple. So definitely more difficult than some of the other bikes we've done. Either way, we're gonna throw it on a charger and then we're gonna go take it for a ride, see how it does. All right, we are here. We've got our ENGWE X20. We're gonna go ahead and let this guy go by. Clearly he's on a mission. And check this out, also another suspension component here. So this has got a cantilever as well as shocks in the rear. An interesting setup. I'm not too sure what to think of it. I mean, I guess the theme here is more is better, I guess. Pretty extensive suspension geometry going on here. So first time seeing that on one of these bikes. This is a dual battery bike as well. I want to point that out. You have a battery in the seat post and a battery in the frame. This cable is for the second battery. This connects right there. So this is a dual battery. The range should be fantastic on this. We're going to find out. We're going to take it for a 10-mile ride, see if that drops us anywhere at 95% right now with 1 mile on the clock. So let's see what that gets us and take a look at the ENGWE X20 in motion. Overall, a pretty high-end bike. This is going to be pedal assist 5. I'm just going to use throttle. I like the seat. First and foremost, my favorite thing so far on this bike is the seat. It is super comfy. All right, here we go. All throttle. Acceleration has a little bit of a ramp up. 20 miles an hour. 23. So we hit 23 miles an hour pretty quick. I'm wondering if that's a limit. Let's slow down here. Brakes are great. Nice brakes. I'm gonna freewheel it and see what kind of speed it shows on there. That was 23 miles an hour. Okay, so no, it's definitely power limited. So there you go, 27 miles an hour is the freewheel speed. This thing should effectively be able to achieve that with some wind to our back or something, which we don't have today. So it's just gonna be, this is all out flat ground. That's what this bike is capable of doing. There's 20. So right around 23 miles per hour, that looks to be our effective top speed. Battery indicator dropped off a little bit. That's expected on these because most of these are measuring voltage to get their percentage. So under full power, it's going to reduce the percentage available. We'll see how that stacks up as we get through the ride. Overall, the ergonomics are good. It's a big bike. It's not a huge bike, but it's definitely not a small bike. It's a folding bike, but I wouldn't consider this one for carrying around, transportability. This is definitely a larger framed bike. Pretty stable, nimble. 20-inch wheels are always way more nimble than others, so that's one good thing about them. GPS 23.3, so I would say that speedometer is accurate. Yeah, pretty close. That's a good thing. A lot of these e-bikes come from the factory with a very inaccurate speedometer, and it's good to see them now. Most of them are coming with a pretty accurate speedometer. Makes sense. Alright, so we'll keep on cruising. We'll get in some different terrain up here and see how it does. Alright, let's get this thing in here, this little bit of off-road section. This has got some bumps. The suspension on this is really good. I can feel a lot of absorption happening. Off-road for sure. No problem. Here's a nice big dip. Oh yeah. Now this is really, really good suspension, I'll say. I'm actually impressed. It feels really good off-road, especially for such small shocks in the front. I didn't expect that. Could have a little beefier suspension up front. Definitely the rear suspension is the icing on this cake. You can feel it. It's just plush. Off-road is just really plush. It just absorbs everything, and the seat is so comfortable. So you can see I'm able to talk normally, even going over all of these crazy bumps. And one thing I will mention, no fenders, so you're gonna get some spray. But off-road, definitely thumbs up for this bike. I don't say that very often. Most of these bikes off-road, they're not great, especially the folding bikes, but this one definitely off-road ready. I wouldn't even be too hesitant to jump this off of a ledge or something like that if I had to. So really nice. The ride is very nice. The seat though, man, I tell you, the seat, the comfort, I really appreciate that for sure. Yeah, this bike with its suspension is confidence inspiring, I'll say that. Right, so we're about 5 miles in. Let's see. Yep, 5 miles in, 73%. So not crazy. I was honestly expecting a little more range being a dual battery setup. Remember, you got to turn your dual battery on too and off right there. If you don't see that on, then it's not on. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead, turn back around, go the other way, get the other 5 miles out, and see what it looks like. But so far, impressed. The suspension is awesome. This rear thing is, they've got something going on. So consider it. If you're a heavy rider, if you're going to carry a large load, definitely worth it. Back on the dirt road. Man, I cannot tell you how smooth this thing is. It is very smooth. I'm not getting any of these bumps at all through the frame or anything like that. Suspension is just taking it all. It's really nice. So highly recommend for this type of use. If you got a dirt road or trails or something like that, it works really well. We're approaching our 10-mile destination though, so we'll do a little follow-up when we get there. So let's talk after the ride how we did here. This X20 has a lot of positives and a couple of negatives. We'll go through them. So really the positives, I'm going to say straight off the bat, the suspension, this rear suspension specifically, is well done. Really well done. They did something really good here. It's heavy and it's heavy duty, you can tell. But man, it absorbs anything I threw at it. I jumped off curbs. I went off-road over any terrain you could imagine. And the back end felt so stable and so plush. Part of that too is the seat. I'm sure the seat's really nice and comfy. This is a really cushy seat. So that helps immensely. But this whole rear package here is well done. The front, typical. Nothing too crazy. Front end, you could feel the bump still, but where it counted was in the rear, and it delivers. So that's a huge plus. Now, the other thing too, this is an 8-speed transmission versus the 7-speed you usually see on some. So you got a little more pedaling distance, or pedaling speed, I should say. At 22 miles an hour, you're still able to pedal. That's a plus, because a lot of people do like to add to that. And I could see I was putting in an extra, 200 watts or so of help just from pedaling. So that's a plus. Hydraulic disc brakes, huge plus. Braking is awesome, feels great. Ergonomics on this bike overall, very good. Super comfortable, high handlebars, and they're not super wide either, so you can fit in some pretty narrow areas. I like that. This setup as a whole works well. Off-road, no problem. On-road, no problem. Comfort, no problem. Brakes, good. Everything there, all good. Negatives. Let's go to the negatives. Negatives on this is a dual battery setup. It's a heavy bike. This bike's not that light. Don't expect to carry this bike if you got to go upstairs or anything like that. This is a heavy bike. You're not going to want to do that unless you're a bodybuilder. And in that case, you probably don't want an electric bike anyway. You want to be pedaling. But anyway, this is a heavy bike. It's got dual batteries. And unfortunately, we put 10 miles on this bike and dropped to 62%. So realistically, this is not even a 30-mile bike. This is a 20-mile bike. I would not want to ride this bike 30 miles, at least not full throttle. I was doing throttle the whole time. Speed's only 22 miles per hour though, so it's not a super fast bike either for that. So battery, not impressed so far. I guess the jury's out on that. I'll have to keep riding to see. But so far, I think that this battery combination of 2 batteries is under-delivering as far as what you would expect for a dual battery bike. Either way, it is a heavy bike, so you can't expect it to be too distance-wise oriented. So keep that in mind if you're looking at this bike. But if you're a heavy rider, if you're a big rider, if you're carrying a lot of stuff, this bike can do it, and it'll do it comfortably with this suspension. The other thing I'm not a huge fan of is the handlebar ergos. You can change that. You can probably move this gear selector in over, but I could not wrap my thumb around the bar while I was riding. My palm wants to be here. My thumb can't go anywhere because it's on this shifter. I'm not a big fan of that. Don't like that. That was the only real gripe I had about that. Otherwise, though, bike's pretty solid. So far outweighing the negatives is the positives on this bike. It's a nice package. This is a premium bike, though. This is not your cheap bike. So don't expect it to be cheap, but expect it to be pretty decent at doing exactly what it's designed to do. And that's haul a lot of weight over any kind of terrain you want. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Stay tuned for the next one. We got a couple more in the shop that we're going to put together here real soon. I'm excited to get those going. And in the meantime, if you want one of these, check out the link in the description. And I will see you guys in the next one.